Good evening. How's everyone doing? Yes, I'm flying solo again. And yes, I'm wearing my sunglasses again because my eyes were really bothering me at the event on Saturday. And they were bothering me all day yesterday and all day today. Good evening, Kathy. How are you? Hey, Carrie. How are you? I've got the giant monitor over there. That's why I have the sunglasses on too. It's just way too bright. Heather, Celine, Dana, how's everyone doing? Happy Monday. Hey, Laura. Yeah, Chris is here. Hey, Karen. But she took the night off because she's tired from her big week with visiting her sisters. I guess they took it all out of her. Hello, Lisa, Teresa, Cindy. How you guys doing? So she's here. She's home, but she's already in bed. Go figure. So somebody has to, you know, keep the ball rolling here. Hello, Chantel. Chantel, did I say that right? Fred, how are you, sir? She did. She had a great time hanging out with her sisters, and she's exhausted. So, yes, she's relaxing, taking it easy. Because tomorrow we have a meeting with about the expo. We're going to be meeting and going over a lot of the details about the expo. And then Wednesday, we are touring a haunted cemetery. So we're going to be pretty busy. And then Saturday's another event. Hello, Christopher. How are you? Just got back from Atlanta. Okay, that sounds fun. So we had an event Saturday night, Centenary University, which I'll tell you what, that place is quickly uh, getting up there as far as like places that I really like going. Um, they trust us. We're allowed to just go in there, and security knows we're going to be there, so they do whatever we need them to do, and then we're left alone in that entire building, for the duration of whatever we're doing there, and it's good because I like to get everywhere early and set up and get ready for everything. And we had some issues with automatic lights turning on that we didn't know were going to turn on, so we had to wait for them to turn off. We're like right in the middle of getting started, and every light in the building comes on. We had to get security to turn them all off, but it was a good event. It was. I told you that place in particular is starting to become one of my favorites, and people are asking already because the next one we're doing is October 28th, I believe, and that's the Andrea Perron lecture, and then we do the ghost hunt after. That's already sold out. So a lot of people were asking, even after this one, people that were new, when are you coming back here? Other people asking when you're coming back here, and I'm sure I'll be talking to my contact there about, probably 4 or 5 potential dates for next year, if not more. I need my caffeine. But really, really interesting, that place. Different layers for sure. We we divided into different areas. The 4 of us. There were actually 6 of us. No, 5 of us were there. Chris wasn't there this weekend. So the 5 of us were there. We divided into different areas, and I've been in the same area for the last 3 events, and the activities kind of, not the activity, but whoever I think I'm interacting with, I think is the same in that area. So it's just kind of trying to build upon that and find out more information if I can. But I know Kenny, who's been in the cathedral probably most, if not all, of the events we did there. He said he experienced something different this time, where he felt like he was negatively affected. Hey, Travis, by something this time. It turned his stomach. He had to sit down. He felt kind of nauseous. So that was different. And what I tell people is right, because it's true. You just never know. Anytime you're in a building or anytime you're with different people, what that energy is going to do, how it's going to change. You don't know. You can't count on it being the same every time, because it only takes one person to be a catalyst for everything that could happen, whether it's the same or different, and that's fascinating to me because, um, you know, do we see the same people often when we do these events? Yeah, there's a few of the same people that come over and over again that have been following us, Kathy being one of them. Um, but there are some new people, a lot of new people that come to different events, and you don't know. You just never know what's going to happen, and that's part of the fun of it. But when it turns a little negative and things start again, there was obviously someone in that group with Kenny who, for whatever reason, hey Christine, and triggered a negative reaction in a cathedral of all places, and he was affected, you know. And I talked to him because everybody kept telling me we were at the break, and people were saying to me, you know, is Kenny all right? Kenny's sick. He was sitting down. He had to sit down. He wasn't feeling well. He was sick, and I'm just like, so we had one extra person. Colleen was there, just kind of helping out because we weren't doing scrying, and I went up to Colleen and I was like, look, you're going to probably have to take over Kenny's group. He's not feeling well. And I went out and found him by his truck, and I'm like, you okay? You're not feeling well? He goes, I'm all right now. And I'm like, what happened? And he goes, I don't know, something just all of a sudden, I was getting negative words out of the spirit box, and I just became affected. And that never happened to him before in that area. So really interesting. Again, as a researcher and someone who's been in the same area many times, and when you get surprised because you become complacent when you're in an area over and over again, kind of comfortable in what you think you know, and then all of a sudden you get a zing, that takes you by surprise, takes you out of, from nowhere. But there's also something to that, to where you really can just always never kind of just rest and go at it as routine. You've always got to kind of monitor what's going on, the ebb and the flow. So normally get 3 bed numbers when counting something. Paul, I have no idea. I don't even know what that means, to be honest with you. Um, sometimes when you look for signs of bad things, you're going to find them. You know, um, I was looking today, talking about segues. The Creeper Gallery. I watch the page just like you guys do, and I talked to. No, Kenny was fine afterwards. We went to the Wawa, and I look at Donna's page, and I talk to Donna, and I'm looking at all the new objects that she's bringing in there, and I read the descriptions for them all. Hey, David, how you doing? And I noticed one in particular. I think it was a doll, and the person, man or woman, who gave it to her in the Creeper Gallery said that something like the doll gives bad luck to whoever whoever touches it or holds it, and negative energy I could take. Like if something is affecting me in that kind of way, where it's a little pain or headache or a cough or sweating or whatever, that I could take, because when you're away from it, you're away from it, and that's pretty much over with. But the bad luck stuff, just like Paul was saying about those numbers, and that's what made me bring it up. I'm very, very superstitious, very superstitious, in that, especially when it comes to bad luck. When I get into bad luck cycles, they seem to last, and they seem to pile on. Like it's never just one thing. It's bam, 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 one after the other. And I'm totally afraid of getting into one of those streaks. And when I read about that doll, and I'm like, okay, how am I going to investigate this? Hey, Colette, this doll without handling this doll, and do I want to prove to myself and you guys that, it is accurate about the bad luck thing? No, I don't. So I'll find a way to investigate it and inquire about the bad luck, whether they mean to do that, whether it's intentional, which is something they're um, doing on purpose, whether it's something that they or doing to certain people or whatever. But I will find a way to investigate it without actually handling that. You know, um, yeah, I just, when it comes to bad luck, I don't fool around with that. I mean, even with the issue I'm having with my eye, handling something that causes bad luck on top of this is not something I want to think about. There's just too many things that could go wrong, you know? So that's the only thing I worry about, because in the past, um, I mentioned this before here, that very superstitious in that there are things that I purchased, and new things, not even old antique things. I purchased them and then something bad happened right afterwards, and I take that thing and I don't throw it out, but I keep it somewhere with all the bad luck items. So yeah, it's bad luck I don't fool around with. Spirits I do. Hot in the UK, 80 degrees, if that's going to be like this for over a week. I don't know what that 80 what does that translate to? I know it's Fahrenheit. We're Fahrenheit as well, but here in Jersey, it's 90. It's been like 90. It's going to be like 90 something over the next week. Hey, it is what it is. Until it's going to be cold before you know it, though. Here anyway. Anyway, but like I said, we're knee deep in the expo stuff. Lots of meetings. 2 months now. We're less than 2 months away now, and it's all going to be just grind and grind and go and grind. That's why when I announced the November 18th event at Barron Art Center, which if we're waiting on 2 more people to pay, and if that happens, that's sold out. But I was real hesitant about adding that, and then I got contacted by the Girl Scouts again about doing another event on Black Friday, which we did last year. Which we did it last year. I couldn't wait. I couldn't not say yes after we did it last year. So doing that again as well. So we're not going to stop till the week before Christmas, probably. I know you must be excited for the expo and Halloween. Honestly, no. The expo is an excitement. It's hey Susan, the expo is work. It is a ton of work, and it's going to be even more this year because it's 2 days. So, no, it's not excitement. It's anxiety. It's knowing the mountain that we usually have to climb is going to be twice the size of it normally is, and that beats the hell out of us. It really does. I mean, and when you have all these events leading up to it this year, usually it's in May, September, July. It's never in the midst of a big run of events, and it's right there in the middle. So, no, excited is not the word. Hey, Chris, how are you? So, yeah, I have, though, come up with a plan for the winter, because I'm always kind of planning what I want to do. And even next year, I was talking to Mark, who's someone who's been following us. He's a friend of ours. It always sounds like the mafia when I say that. If you ever watched any mafia movies, it's a friend of mine or a friend of ours, like the way they talk. Mark, we've known Mark forever, and Mark's a good guy. And I was talking to him at the college, and this year, I think when it's all said and done, to be honest with you, I think we'll be at around 30 events, something like that, for the year. It might be more. It really might be more. And that's way too much. Way too much. Chris is here. She's just tired. She's been hanging out with her sisters all week, and I guess staying up late at night, and she's just all tired. So she's here, but not here. Anyway, we did way over 30 events this year, and talking about next year, and I think we're going to cut it back. I really do think that with the issues with this, depending on how that's resolved, I'm hoping to have surgery, hopefully by the end of the year. and physically it's a grind doing all these events and doing the expo. So next year we're really literally going to cut the events, probably not half, but pretty darn close to it. So you know we'll be doing stuff, but it won't nearly be like every other week the way it is now. It just won't be. So we'll still be out there and doing stuff, but yeah, it won't be. And it's great in that you know it's such an awesome thing that people appreciate what we do, and they want to come to our events, and that they actually tell us the events sell out fast, and we tried to get a ticket and we want to get a ticket. And it's the best compliment you could ever pay someone, the fact that you bought a ticket, and B, you want to come back because you thought it was really good. And that C, I get messages, we went to ABC Paranormal's event, this one, and you guys do it great. And that's the 4 or 5 or the 6 of us really giving it all we got and trying to make sure everyone has a good time. And I had mentioned on my personal page that if you're organizing an event and you're running an event, hey, AB, that if you're doing either of those things and the goal isn't to, at the end of the day, you measure yourself by A, did people enjoy the event? And B, did people think, it was worth the money they spent? If those two things are what they got out of it, then you had a successful event and you're doing things the right way. If you're just saying, we got your money, we had a quote unquote sellout, and we don't care if people enjoyed it, then you're really not doing right by anybody, including yourself. So, can you guarantee activity? No. Can you press a button and things happen in every room with everyone? No. But you can give it a really good effort and try to, just engage people and educate them and try to give them a good event, you know, especially if they paid money for that. So anyway, having said that, it's like I said, it's a lot, and cutting down means that we're just gonna people are asking me, like I said, Centenary University, are there going to be more? Are there going to be more? Is it going to be more? And believe me, I want to say yeah, but there's only so much we could do, and we appreciate everyone's support and the feedback. But yeah, I mean, COVID gave us a really good breather. I know that's weird, but we weren't doing anything. So I'm so looking forward to jumping back out there and doing it that I literally said, let's do everything to make up for the nothing that we did for 2.5 years, however long that was. And we did. I did. I made sure we went nuts for the next 2 years where we just, put the pedal down and just kept going, and now it's time to find that happy balance between doing the stuff I want to. Have a good night, Sydney. And making sure that we're still out there and still doing everything we want to, but not just on the level we're doing it now. But having said that, winter. What I like about the winter time is I don't really schedule any events for the winter ever because Jersey weather is so unpredictable. And there's one event that we usually do in February, and that's at Clark, the William Robinson building, which I really like because I used to live right by there. I know the people. The director's a really nice guy. The building is active for a little tiny building, not that big. And that's the one we do in February every year. But besides that, I like setting up these live stream investigations in the winter and kind of going over either places we've done or going to new places and doing it all live, like every weekend or every other weekend. So I'm already kind of formulating in my head what that's going to look like. I know going back to Berkeley College, we're definitely going to do that. Hey, Donna. I know Clark municipal building. We're definitely going to do that. And there's also going to be some buildings mixed in with all that too, with, like I said, some new locations. So, hey, David, have a good night. So, you know, that's what I'm looking at the winter. And, the interviews, I'm looking to get back to doing interviews as well because I love doing them. I just haven't gotten around to scheduling many of them because there's so much going on. But I have two that are coming up probably in the next 2 weeks. One will be with a new person that you guys have never met. Her name is Marie Gilbert. She's a medium, and we're going to talk about reincarnation. I know we've covered past lives, but this is somebody different who has a different perspective. And the other person, I won't say their name yet because we haven't confirmed a date, but this person had a near-death experience and actually died and came back when they were in the hospital having tests done. She, she passed away and came back, and she describes what she experienced and what she went through. And again, we don't get enough of those people on. I want to talk to as many of those people as we can. There's Nikki. So, those are the two interviews, and I'm going to line up some more because I do like doing that. I enjoy doing that a lot, and it's something we haven't done in a while that I want to get back to because I enjoy talking to people about the paranormal. And you guys know that, whether it's something that Nikki brings something up, and I reference someone. Whenever I talk about people uh, being a medium or sensitive, no, we don't go there, Chantel. That's not us. That's somebody else. Whenever I talk about someone being a sensitive or a medium, a lot of times I'll do this. I do the air quotes, and I do that because, um, people are claiming to have that ability. It's their claim. Whether they can show actual proof of that, some can, some claim to, but it's just normal for me to do that when it comes to people that, even when demonologists, I'll do that even when it comes to demonologists because I don't believe in demons. So I don't believe in demonology. And one of the guys who I respect most in the world, John Zaffis, is a demonologist. And I told him, I don't believe in demons. So, I do that often. Centenary, no, we talked about that a little. We were just kind of briefly covering that and what happened there, and the fact that it's quickly becoming one of my favorite places. And it's so funny because, Centenary University, and then we had Berkeley College, and I see where New Jersey did this article on another college that's known to be haunted in New Jersey, and it's just like, no, you got to send me that name again, Christopher. Remind me if you could send me a message through the page. I'd appreciate it because my memory, man, is completely shot, and it's just because I have so much on my brain all the time. Donna said it was great, the Centenary University event. Here's the thing too that I love. I really, really love and enjoy this about the paranormal. It's one thing to be a person, and you do become a little kind of jaded, I guess, and used to it when you do as much as we do. You really are. It almost becomes routine in certain buildings and certain places. You're looking forward to the surprise. You really are. You really, really want to be surprised. You want something to happen that even makes us go, holy crap. Like, did you see that? Like everybody else standing there, did you see that? And I find so much, I find it as interesting as everyone else when those experiences happen. And especially when new people come along. Like, we'll get younger people or older people our age, whatever, that come and join us for events, and they're in these buildings, and you're like, you can always tell they're kind of like, yeah, yeah, okay, this building's active or whatever. But then as things start happening, you get to see the looks on their faces, and you hear them talk about it afterwards. And you tell people all the time when we meet people that are just, want to do this and are looking to join groups or whatever, and you tell them the same thing. It's one thing to watch it on TV and to hear about it and watch these YouTube videos or whatever. It's another to be in the presence of a paranormal event, if that's what you want to call it. Because then there's no denying it. There really isn't. It's just like, it's real, it's happening, it's around me, and what could happen next? It's almost like watching not like a scary movie or anything, because not everything is scary. You know what I mean? But even the non-scary stuff is fascinating and interesting when it's happening, because it's like, again, here you are, whether we're 5 people or whatever, you're in a space and there's nobody else in that space, and the lights are out, it's dark, you're just openly now as a group. Again, it's almost as if it's a seance without holding hands and having candles and whatever else you do with a seance. It's almost like that setting, and that everybody's there with the same interests, the same intention, the same purpose, looking for the same thing. And you do feel like that alone, and I'm going to get, here we go, the rabbit hole thing. You do feel like that alone kind of raises the vibration. They used to, when it came to the ghost hunting, I know some people still do it, the EMF boost. What do they call it? Pump, EMF pump. There used to be this little kind of box, and you would turn it on, and it was an EMF pump. It pumped EMF into the air, and you could measure it with like a meter or any kind of EMF detector. You would see it ping, the numbers go up right away. And that was just to give, in theory, give spirits more energy that they could use to interact and to manifest and to manipulate things. I kind of believe that a little bit. In theory, it's not a bad theory. In theory, if they need energy and they're borrowing it from us, why wouldn't they borrow it from man-made? But I find that to be more unlikely. Like natural elements, I would believe that a little more, because there's something to that when it comes to minerals or water. That's a little different. But when it comes to man-made EMF, I think it's different. I think if we, in fact, transition to some other kind of form, and that form is energy-based, let's say, I don't think it's a matter of if we could go buy a power plant and become full body apparitions, because we've got all the juice that we need, and here we are, fully charged spirits, and we could go now and move things around and throw things and lift refrigerators and talk to whoever we want to. I don't necessarily believe that. I don't think it works that way. I do believe, though, that because these are people that have passed, and collectively we are there, hopefully, with the same purpose, the same intention, the same mindset, the same idea of being respectful if they're spirits that are just people and not evil, whatever, prisoners or whatever. But if I do believe that if you get, like a seance, if you get people together and you're openly trying to communicate with who's ever around, and if they're nearby and they're listening, and you've got multiple people saying, here's my name, let me introduce myself, this is why we're here, this is what we're doing, I do think there's something to that mixed with who's ever in the group. What kind of energy do they bring to the table? Um, what, if anything, that the spirit is hearing and seeing from each individual, the person draws them closer to the group or away from the group. I do think that that kind of raises the vibration and kind of puts it out there to the environment, which is why equipment is such a key part of that equation. Because, well, again, Colette, there's something to be said for that, but I'm gonna factor in the gadgets into it as well, because to do that part of it with the gadgets, I mean, with the opening yourself up and just asking questions and all, that's part of it. But the old-fashioned way, what if you're not hearing knocks? What if you're not an empath or a medium? What if there's air conditioning in the building and you can't hear EVPs? What then? Do you just throw your hands up and say there's no way we're going to be able to interact and communicate with anyone who's passed here because I'm not an intuitive, I'm not a medium, there's air conditioning, and forget it, I just can't do it? No, I don't believe that either. I believe that the equipment, along with doing it collectively, um, allows you to measure changes in the environments, obvious changes in the environments that may or may not be manipulated by someone you can't see or hear. So I believe that's a big part of it. And I know some people might not, but I just think in terms of if you're limiting my method of communication with an individual to um, one means of whether I have an ability or I can hear a voice, then okay, that's it. Why not? Just like here's a prime example of that. My cousin is deaf. She can't hear anything, completely deaf. And we were just at a Sweet 16 birthday party for my nephew's daughter. And I'm sitting next to my cousin, who's probably in her 40s. And she can't hear. She's been deaf most of her life. She does sign language. I don't do sign language. My mom was deaf when I was 8 years old. My mom had two massive tumors removed from her head, and her equilibrium was shot, and she couldn't hear. My mother could read lips as well as anyone on the planet. You couldn't get away with anything if you were facing my mom and talking to her about her. She would know what you were saying. So we took that for granted. You had to talk slow, like I'm doing now, and enunciate your mouth. Well, my mother could pick up on mostly everything. So that's the way we communicated with my mom. We never learned sign language. My mother refused to. So here's my cousin who only knows sign language, right? I'm limiting myself to a one-way conversation where she can talk, but she can't understand what's coming from me because I don't know sign language. Now, if everybody in the world was that way, would we just give up and never communicate with those people because we can't reach them through the one method that's available to us? No. So what did my cousin do? My cousin took the app on her phone, speech to text, put it down right in front of us, would talk to me. And when I talked, she'd grab her phone and look at it, she'd nod, and then she'd talk back to me. And that was the whole conversation we were having. And we were able to talk. Granted, not everything came through because there were lots of people there, so every once in a while. But we were able to, otherwise we would have sat there and just looked at each other and nodded and nodded. So again, I come at these things with a completely different perspective. I mean, if you're telling me from the 40s, 50s, and 60s that the only way to communicate with spirits is either through a medium and a reel-to-reel recorder and a seance, then I'd have said, yeah, those are your options, I guess, because there is no other science that's proving any other method would work or even to try to do another method. But now, 2023, 20, 30 years from now, you're not going to believe the stuff they're probably trying to do in experiments or trying to do to prove the existence of spirits or measure whether they're around us or not, or interact with them. So, I mean, like I said, I don't follow that school of we're a purist and we only do it this way. It's like, yeah, if that's what you do, then that's what you do. I get it. Not that there's anything wrong to it, but you can't say anybody else is doing it wrong, because it's not the way you do it. I'm not saying you did that. I'm just saying that's my kind of perspective and my way of thinking. I'm always about, and that's what I love, and I've repeated this a million times. John Zaffis, who came up the way that the older school and the way Colette and you guys are talking about, John Zaffis worked with nothing but mediums, Ed and Lorraine, real to real stuff, and that's it. He came up that way. That was his teaching. But John has opened his mind to talk to all different religious beliefs and different ideals and different theories, different methods. And when John Zaffis does a quote unquote ghost hunt, spirit communication, he uses an app. An app. Some people would cringe at the idea of using an app for paranormal. There are purists out there. Oh my God, apps. Are you kidding me? Apps. That's what John, and believe me, I would trust him over anybody out there knows when it comes to communicating with spirits and how to best deal with that and handle a situation. So, I mean, that's when I say he is a guy who's older than me, who's seen it all and done it all in the field, and yet he is way open to the idea of. I've seen him take part in other experiments with other people using different methods, and he'll sit right in there and he'll go along and he'll see it. And that's the key to it. Watch it, observe it, see if it makes sense to you, see if you think it's logical or reasonable to think that there is some intelligent interaction there, and always multiple levels of validation. If you can get that, that's the important thing. Of course, the best, I say this everywhere I go, the very best thing in the world would be as if an apparition pulled up in front of us and said, hey there, Bob Smith. I lived here from 1900 to 1950 with my wife, my two kids. Let me answer anything you want to know. Don't work that way. The next best thing, EVP. Put the recorder down. Who are you? Bob Smith. When did you live here? 1940. That doesn't always go that way either, you know? Mentioned all different methods of contact. Yeah, Laura, so does, I posted the reel today. She mentioned Steve Gonzalez and how he wrote a book about different methods of spirit communication. Adam Berry, that reel I posted today, mentions the same thing. And this is what I tell people all the time. Never get so single-minded that you really do believe that there is one road, one path for any of this stuff. Because you'll meet somebody someday, somewhere. Again, if you're involved in this field and you're talking to people and watching things and learning, you're going to meet somebody someday, sometime, who's going to take your one road, and you're going to get to the end of it, and it's going to branch off 10 different ways, and you're going to go, what? And that has happened to me so many times. So many times. I mean, you think I'm cynical now? Crap, when I was in my 30s, everything was horse crap. That show's fake. This one's fake. I know this. I know that. I know that this is that and that. I mean, I was like way worse. But so much has happened between now and then that I'll tell you my opinion for sure, based on my experiences. Hey, Wendy. And again, that's why I like what Adam said too. Adam in that reel said, based on my experiences in my life in the paranormal, I will tell you my opinion based on my experiences in my life within the paranormal and the people that I've met along the way. Will I say my way is the right way and the only way and the true way, and this is the way it is? Never, never. I could be wrong about every bit of it. I have no pride when it comes to that. And believe me, I would love to be shocked about. And somebody mentioned something today. God, I can't remember what it was or who it was. But they were talking about the afterlife and about the idea of heaven, and that um, I've heard this many, many times from many different people who I trust and I know in this field, that, but they've all described it in different ways. And this is what's fascinating about this. Uh, a lot of people think your version of heaven isn't going to be my version of heaven. Let's call it heaven for sake of argument. That your version of heaven is going to be what you believe your version of heaven is. And mine is going to be what my version is. Now, that alone is like, are we living, is that like the Matrix type of thing? I mean, is it, how could it be different for everyone, yet do we all exist in the spirit world? Or are our loved ones there? You know what I mean? What if their versions of heaven are different than mine? Will I ever cross paths with them again? You know what I mean? Like, these are the questions I ask myself. And when these people make these kind of statements, I say that to them. And they explain it in the way they can, but it doesn't make sense to me, you know? And these are the type of things that are fascinating to talk about. Because if that's true, and what I tend to believe, and somebody told me this too, that whatever your version of heaven is, again, we're going out there. You might want to get a drink or eat your edible or eat your mushroom. Whatever your version of heaven is like a temporary heaven. Okay? And it only exists for you to accept that you've passed and everything that goes along with it. Does that make sense to anybody? And then eventually, however long that takes, and that could take a long time, eventually the real afterlife, whatever that is, will be presented to you when you fully reach the state of acceptance and understanding what it means to be whatever it is we become, transition to. Right? Crazy. And again, where in that is spirits, quote unquote, haunting a place, or loved ones coming back to help us, spirit guides, to be around us at all, visitation, dreams, any of that. Where in that does that fit in? You know what I mean? That's the big picture. I know it makes sense, Kathy, because it does to me as well. But somewhere in this vast idea of the afterlife, if it truly is that, like, some people have the idea of the afterlife being just that. It's the afterlife. You pass on, you hold all the same characteristics and traits and memories and feelings that you do with you into the afterlife, where you're then reunited with loved ones and friends and all of that stuff. Okay? Now, I know a lot of people believe in that. I would like to believe that myself. But, you know, where in all of this does the ability to, again, for spirits to exist in a building, be connected to objects, you know what I mean? Visit people in dreams or whatever. Where in all that does that, see, my brain is too analytical, and that somewhere in my brain, I want it to make sense like a map. You know what I mean? I want it to be like something that I could go, okay, we went from, like, here's the flow chart, we passed. And this is, I drive people crazy with this because I did it with Grant Wilson and I did it with other people too. I'm like, okay, we passed. Where do we go from there? And how long what happens if, and that until we get to wherever this final thing is. I mean, that's really what drives me nuts when I think about this stuff. And that um, the the wanting to understand um, it's so bad is almost always kind of canceled out by the fear of what if um, we close our eyes and it's it. We get one shot, one life, boom, lights out. Nothing happens. You know? The all can sit down when we're hanging out and get his burger on pizza. I really look forward to that. You're a human flow chart. I'm not. I'm a question mark wrapped in a riddle, wrapped in a yeah, when we go to Gettysburg, yeah, I mean, if we get there, you get there early enough, we'll eat pizza and we'll hang out and we'll, talk about all this crazy stuff if you want to. Again, Cody and Satori doing what they do will blow your frigging mind. Um, I've seen it. And again, we can go into this a little bit as well. Okay. I'm a big believer in prove it. Prove it. This is where I drive mediums crazy. Because if you can't prove it, then you're just telling the story, in my opinion. I say this and I get people really aggravated with me, especially people who claim to be mediums, because I always say the same thing. It is way too easy for anyone to say there's a little girl in the corner dressed in white. She used to live here, blah, 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 without a shred of evidence to back it up. Just you're saying it because you're saying it, and everybody here is supposed to fall in line and go, hey, little girl, you want to come over here and talk to me? Why are you here, little girl? Nope. Sorry. Not going to be me ever. Sorry. Unless you've proven to me as a medium that you were legit before and have said and proven and done things that I like, wait a minute. No, I can't explain this. There's got to be something else going on here. Um, Mediums are a dime a dozen, and there's more of them than ever. And again, when it comes to like reading and stuff, I'm 55 years old in November. It is way too easy to say someone like me, I send some motherly figure or a fatherly figure. And if I say, well, what do you know? Both my parents are still alive and are 110 years old each. Well, then it could be a grandmother. Did you have a grandmother who passed? I mean, come on. I could do that, you know? But get into specifics, that's something different. I tell this story a lot, and because it's true. There was a medium who many, many years ago, um, on the same way I was then when it came to mediums. And this one, she was fairly new. She was doing readings. She was trying to get out there more. And she wanted to come to the very first expo 10 years ago, 11 years ago now. So I said to her, why don't you come with us on a ghost hunt, you know? And, let's see what you could do, because she wanted to work with us a little bit too. And this was before we were New Jersey Paranormal. We were something else. And I'll never forget it. We were in an old factory that dated back to the 1800s, where I know for sure, that there were deaths. There were documented deaths. Immigrant workers, people through the years who had accidents on the machinery, all this stuff. I know there were plenty of documented deaths. So generalities, being general, wasn't going to impress me. You're exactly right about that, Colette. Exactly right. And that's the best way to describe it. Anyway, this medium, knowing that I was a person who required proof, she said, come with me. They're leading me down to the basement. Here we go, basement. We all think basements are creepy. Attics are creepy. Okay, whatever. She tells me, which I loved, and I wish I still worked with this person. I don't know what happened to her. I think she moved. She said to me, follow me, put your equipment here, here, and here. I didn't even say, where do you want me to put it? She told me, one end of this was a huge factory. One end of the building, another one over there, and another one closer to where we were. Huh? Boom, boom, boom. They were REM pods. You want to know what REM pods are? They light up, make music, lights go around. We're there. She takes a breath, goes into her thing, and she goes, okay. And she knows I'm watching her, and I got a smirk on my face. Like, here we go. Here comes the BS. You know, she's going to tell me what she sees or that there's a man who died in a machine. She goes to me, okay, they just entered the room, but they entered from all the way over there. But she points in the direction of where the furthest piece of equipment is. And she goes, I swear to you, this is the truth. They should be by your piece of equipment. And before she even got the word now out, there goes the REM pod. And I smiled and I looked at her like, coincidence? So then she's like, okay, just everybody quiet. Could you, and she started talking to them. Could you make your way over towards us? Come to my voice. We're over here. We just want to talk to you. I can sense your presence. Blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, when you know it, REM pod number 2, which was across, but a little closer, started going off. Right after the first one. And I'm like, son of a dog. What kind of a coincidence is 2 of them? So I'm like, all right, you know. So she goes, I need you to come closer. You got to come closer to us. There's the same device, and she pointed to it a few feet right in front of us. If you could come over here to that and show us that you're here and join us, I'd really appreciate it. She goes, they're coming. Okay, yeah, they're here. And what, right in front of us. We all step back like, you've got to be kidding me. And she goes, let's go over to where we started because they're telling me to go that way, to where they came in. Let's go over there. Go over there. And she said, bring your recorder. Walk over there, bring the recorder. She goes, we're doing an EVP session. It was something like, did you work here? Were you a man? And whatever other questions. But there was probably 6 questions, 5 questions. But the ones where she thought I was going to get a response, she'd look me right in the eye and she goes, and pointed at the recorder. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. Sure as you know what, 2 responses right where she pointed and said there would be. And before we even got there to the answer, she said, I heard him say, blah. And that's exactly what was on the EVP recorder. You want to talk about a believer? I'd never seen anything like that, ever. And I was shocked. And the same thing happened to me with Judy Kay. We had Judy on before. We did an interview with her about kids with psychic abilities. Judy Kay, we invited her to do one of our events. People were there. This was down the shore somewhere, a place we don't go anymore. And Judy wasn't with me the first group. She came down with the second group, and she said, John, you're in the wrong part of the basement. Of course, basement again. You need to go over there. And she said, you see that old mirror leaning against the wall? There's a woman attached to that mirror. She's here. Go over there. She'll talk to you. She's waiting for you to go over there. Sure, whatever. People were entertained. They were like, yeah, well, let's go. Go over there. I put 3 pieces of equipment on and around the mirror. Creepy, old, cool mirror, big, heavy. Sure enough, she's like, he's here. I brought him here. You know, he brought these things. If you just touch them, he'll know that you're here because he doesn't believe you. Bang, 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 bang. Everything went off. We got 2 EVPs there as well from a woman. You can't make that up. That's not, there's a woman there. I see her. You don't hear her. She's not going to interact. She'll only talk to me. No, that was proof, man. And when you prove it to me, boom, I am right there with you the whole time. And there hasn't been a lot of mediums that have done that. I've mentioned 2. There's been maybe two more or three, and I've known way more than that in my lifetime. I should say I've met way more than that in my lifetime. So I don't think we're talking. You mean Judy? If we're talking about Judy, yeah, the other person, there's no photo of her and I. I know there's not because this was so long ago. So again, it works both ways for me. I do believe that there is there is sense to using the older methods and the more natural way of using us as people as a conduit and using sensitive people and mediums as a conduit to engage and communicate with spirits as a base, even if you don't have a medium, just people as a base because of the frequencies, the energy, the vibration, all that stuff. Maybe, just maybe, we're going to be able to reach somebody throughout the night, even if it's the four of us. Hopefully we'll be able to reach and relate to those people and get them to engage and trust and come with us. Along those same lines, I think you are very, you are limiting yourself greatly if you only think this method alone or this and that is the only way to interact and communicate, engage, whether or not a spirit is around you occupying space or not. Again, my opinion, that's it. Not you might be right, I might be wrong, whatever. But just like what I referenced with my cousin, if I was of that belief that I need to learn sign language or I can never talk to my cousin ever again in any way, shape, or form, I give up because I'm not going to learn sign language. If the world worked that way, then we wouldn't be talking to a whole lot of people ever. There's Google translators so that we can go to other countries and put an app on, not bringing a physical person who is from that country and speaks that language, can say medium. We're not bringing a translator with us to a foreign country and saying, we're not going to be able to converse with anybody that doesn't speak English here because we don't have a translator. And I give up if I can't bring a translator. I'm not going to be able to even try to talk to people from this country. I have now a modern technology device in my hand that has the ability to translate language that is foreign to me and them, but I can now, maybe not fluently, but converse with them on some level. Using devices and equipment makes it some level. It gives us that option. Not the perfect level, not the ideal level, not the foolproof level. On some level, we're giving the option. And on that note, I'm going to sign off for tonight. Tomorrow night, live from the Creeper Gallery. There's new objects there. Definitely 2. We'll try to get to 3. We'll see what we can do. We will be starting at 7:30 p.m. Live from the Creeper Gallery. Hopefully Chris will be with me. If not, yours truly. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks again for your support and everything, guys. Couldn't do this without you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.